All right, today we're going to be making a shape cityscape. We're going to be using geometric shapes that have names and rules. So first thing I'm going to do is write my name on the back of my paper. I'm going to write the first letter of my teacher's name. So if I have Miss Bloom, I'm going to put a B-K for kindergarten. And I'm going to turn it over. All right, to start our project, we are going to be making a bridge in the middle of our paper. We're going to be cutting a semicircle, which is a half circle, out of our bridge to let the boats be able to pass underneath. So I'm just going to cut a semicircle. If you want to do 2 or 3, you can do that as well. Maybe a little bit smaller one. Another semicircle. I think I'm going to do a few semicircles. A couple big ones and a couple small ones for the big boats and the small boats. Now I'm going to hold on to these semicircles because I've got something in mind for them later. And I'm going to put this on my paper in the middle. I want it to be in the middle because I want to be able to put some boats in the water and some buildings on top. So when it comes to my buildings, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to cut rectangles and squares. So I'm just going to cut straight and I've got a rectangle. Now I can do tall buildings, I can do short buildings, however tall I want. So I'm going to make a couple different varieties. Going to make some short ones, and I'm using squares and rectangles. A square has sides that are all the same size, and a rectangle has 2 sides that are longer than the others. So I'm making squares and rectangles for my buildings. Alrighty, once I've got those, I am going to give myself a roof for some of them. So I'm going to actually cut some triangles. There's a couple different ways you can cut a triangle. You can cut a diagonal line across a rectangle or square, and that will give you a triangle. So I could do that. Or you can cut from 2 directions. I can go up and up from both sides. So using diagonal lines, diagonal slant. Alrighty, I'm thinking that my buildings need some windows. What shape are windows? Squares and rectangles. So I've got a cool trick that I can do for my windows. I'm going to just snip, 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 kind of like fringe. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to cut across, and I've got some windows to use now. Okay, I can do that multiple times to give myself lots of windows to work with. I think I'm going to use yellow because I want it to seem like there's lights on in my house. Mine's kind of a night scene. Maybe some blue ones. And I think I'm going to make some green doors. All right, now I've got my buildings made. Feel free to add lots more detail to your buildings. Remember, we are drawing with our shapes today. We're actually not using our pencils or crayons for anything. All of the details on our paper are made from other little pieces of paper. This is a collage. I'm going to go back to those little semicircles that I cut out for my bridge, and And I'm going to use those for the bottom of my boats in the water. So I'm going to turn those on their side. If I want to make it a little bit smaller, I can. And what shape are sails? What shape is a sail? A triangle. So I'm going to cut a triangle again for one sailboat and another sail for my other sailboat. All right, my paper's looking good. Now I'm going to glue down. I've got all of my shapes and I'm going to glue it down. So I'm going to be peeling some of those things off. All right, glue can sometimes get a little messy, but that's okay. So I'm going to turn over my paper, just a dot, not a lot. Just a dot, not a lot. I'm actually going to take my pinky and I'm going to smear my dots down so that they're not so gloopy. Kind of get all those corners. My glue is gloopy, not gloopy. And I'm going to put it down and press. Give it a good back rub. You can even slide off of these houses. Turn it over and give it a nice back rub. Oh yeah, the paper likes that. Good back rub. Now I'm going to do the same thing with all of my houses. So I'm going to do just a dot, not a lot in each corner. Maybe one in the middle. Smear it down and press. Okay? Just a dot, not a lot. Press it down and press. Just a dot, not a lot. Smear it down and press. I think you guys get the picture. Once I've got my houses, I'm going to go ahead and give it another back rub just to make sure they're all down. And I'm going to go back and put those windows on. For my windows, I can even just do tiny dots and stick them on. Tiny dot, stick it on. Same with my doors. Tiny dot, stick it on, dot, dot. Don't want to forget about my roof. Smear it down, and so on. All right, I'm going to go through and I'm going to add all of my glue and my boats, and I'll be done. All right, and my shape collage cityscape is done. What shapes do you see? I see a semicircle, a triangle, square, rectangle, all sorts of shapes. All right, I can't wait to see what your cityscapes look like today. Good luck.